I saw them cover his body, and they said, unfortunately, he's succumbed to his injuries.
It sounded like a war zone. Dozens of rounds fired, an innocent man killed, and a neighborhood now trying to cope with the aftermath. Jonathan Davis is being described tonight as a quiet teen who was into video games like so many other 17-year-olds. Davis was an innocent bystander at Saturday's shooting in Malton that took place while a rap video was being recorded. Nellie Nanowski is in that neighborhood tonight. And Nellie, I covered crime in the city for a long time, and I don't remember a scene with so many bullets being fired.
That's just it, Dwight. This whole area was just covered in bullets. There's spray paint markings just completely everywhere. And as you can see, it's still very much an active police investigation. There is yellow police tape behind me. There's a forensics van, and there is at least 6 or 7 police cruisers patrolling this area. Now, the event, as you mentioned, it all took place Saturday evening. There was a rap video being shot here in this courtyard. There was also a birthday party. So there were a lot of people outside, including 17-year-old Jonathan Davis. Now, I spoke with 2 of his friends today who told me that they're just trying to keep everything together.
He was like another brother to me. He would sleep over in my house a lot, and I talked to him at 3 o'clock that afternoon. He said how he was going to his dad's house and I'll see him the next day.
But the next day, his friends got a call telling them Jonathan Davis had been shot and killed.
When I heard Jonathan, I just broke down.
Davis was in the back courtyard of this Mississauga building, watching the filming of a rap video. That's when police say multiple suspects entered, firing semi-automatic weapons into the crowd. Longtime family friend Selma Alinsi says she jumped in her car after receiving a frantic call from Jonathan's mom.
So an officer came to me and said, I said, this is the father. Is he able to go and see? And he said, no, they're working on him. Not even a minute passed by and came back to me, and I saw them cover his body. And they said, unfortunately, he's succumbed to his injuries.
Friends and family described the 17-year-old as quiet, a homebody who wanted to be an electrician.
He's a good kid, very quiet, didn't bother anyone. He was into video games, that's all he did. It's not like if he was out there on the streets or was a person that used to hang out anywhere. No, quiet, very helpful, respectable young man.
It's the gun policy. It's way too easy to get a gun. All these black kids, young black kids, have weapons, and it's just, everyone's just getting killed, especially young black boys. It's so hard to be a black boy and be on the streets past 8, past 9, without like fearing for your life.
At Jonathan's school, the flag has been lowered to half staff, and there are grief counselors in place to help students cope with the loss of their friend.
Right now, there is a memorial table set up inside the school for students who can leave their condolences for the family.
So a GoFundMe page has also been started for his family. So far, $7,000 of the $15,000 needed has been raised. And as I mentioned, Dwight, earlier, this is still very much an active police investigation. Police are asking anyone with surveillance footage to come forward. Right now, the only description of the suspects that we have is that there were multiple people dressed all in black and wearing balaclavas. Dwight?
Another senseless shooting. Thank you for that. Many residents of that apartment are still in shock 2 days after this shooting. It happened at a time when many people were at home just enjoying their weekend. Greg Ross caught up with one man who was just steps away from where the shots rang out.
This video posted online shows the tail end of the shooting at a Mississauga apartment complex Saturday evening. Many residents watched as it happened from inside their apartments. What's going through your mind as you're watching this happen?
I thought it was a movie. It was like, I don't know. Words can't explain like what I see.
This man, who asked not to be identified out of fear for his safety, says the gunmen were just steps away from his window.
I see like 5 to 6 max dudes just shooting assault rifles. I see military style guns. They were holding it like they're in the military. It was just crazy.
He says after what felt like several minutes, the shooters got into an SUV and sped off.
As soon as the guys left, everyone rushed out. And all you see is gun smoke. All you smell is gun smoke. It was like a fog in the back.
And through that fog, he saw 17-year-old Jonathan Davis. He was surrounded by people who were trying to help.
One guy grabbed him to see if he was okay, if he was responsive, and we weren't getting nothing out of him.
And then he says Davis's mother arrived. He says seeing a mother realize her son had been shot is something that will haunt him for the rest of his life.
It was horrible, man. Like, I wish he never seen that. I wish. Like, it didn't make sense. No one's supposed to see their son, like, laid out in the grass like that. Like, it just didn't make sense.
He says he hasn't slept much since Saturday, and even though police are still on scene, he's worried that something like this could happen again.
Yeah, I'm afraid I could just be walking, coming home from work, walking at nighttime, 1 o'clock in the morning, dudes come up to me, shoot me just because they think I'm from that neighborhood.
And now you're already looking to get out?
Yeah, I'm moving right away as soon as I can. I'm looking for a new place. Yeah, I'm in fear of my life. I feel like it's not safe over here after what I've seen. Yeah, it's definitely not safe.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Mississauga.
In the wake of the shooting, Mississauga's mayor wants her city to get its share of funding for fighting guns and gangs.
We will be calling on the provincial government for our share of funding into the Guns and Gangs initiative that other jurisdictions, such as the City of Toronto, has received.
Mayor Bonnie Crombie was speaking the day after the shooting. She was referring to the more than $50 million in funding Ontario is putting towards fighting gun and gang crime. The money is the province's share of more than $200 million the federal government has earmarked for tracking crime. The money is being used to help beef up Crown attorney teams to prosecute gun crimes. Crombie also called for a shuttered community police station in Malton to be reopened. Peel police are dealing with another deadly shooting. It happened early this morning in Brampton, and the SIU is also involved in the case after police fired at a car that was attempting to flee the scene.
But the one person that was transported to trauma center is in serious, non-life-threatening condition. We do have another person that was deceased on the scene when we arrived.
Peel officers were called to the 410 just after 2 this morning. The SIU says while police were investigating the shooting, they had an interaction with another vehicle in the area. The driver of that car tried to flee. That's when one officer opened fire. The vehicle was later found abandoned. These latest shootings have thrust the gun control issue back into the spotlight, especially now that we're in a federal election. Where the leaders stand when it comes to gun crime, coming up at 6:30.
What would you say is the toughest thing about living in the GTA?
I would say a lot of it has to do with just transportation, getting around town. It's congestion everywhere.
Rent is soaring. We're living in a housing crisis. Looking for political leaders to really start coming together to tackle the solution.
Getting our infrastructure moving, especially subways and above rail, like streetcars on Kings, things like that.
Affordable housing, because I would say like my rent is crazy.
What's your rent like?
Upwards of $2,000 a month.
In 5 weeks, Canadians will elect a new government, and today we kick off a new series, 5 Issues in 5 Weeks, taking a deep dive into what matters to you. To kick off the series, we're looking at affordability. Shannon Martin has been looking into this for us and joins us live now. And Shannon, from housing to daycare and transit, affordability is a large issue in this election.
Absolutely. You know, everywhere we go when we're talking to people at campaign stops, outdoor knocking with candidates, or even just on the street, everyone is telling us how they're feeling squeezed. Clearly, it's something the party and party leaders have heard because it's only week 1 and we've already heard plenty of promises to help.
You deserve a real plan for the future.
Justin Trudeau has spent the last 4 years of your life making life more expensive.
What I'm hearing from people is that they're done with governments that seem to continually prioritize making it easier for the very rich.
We also make life way more affordable for young people by not setting them out in life crushed by student debt.
All major parties all talking about your pocketbook with promises piling up on the campaign trail.
People often hear that the economy is doing better, that we've overcome the issues of the recession a few years ago, but that's not what we're experiencing in our daily lives. In our daily lives, people's wages have stagnated, while costs of living around housing and even everyday costs are going up.
Voters feeling an overwhelming anxiety, she says, over whether they can afford to live the life they want or even need.
We're unveiling our plan to create hundreds of thousands of new spaces for kids and lower the costs of childcare for parents.
This morning in Waterloo, Justin Trudeau pledging more money for daycare. An Ontario family with 2 kids, he says, would save about $800 a year.
As Prime Minister, I will introduce the Children's Fitness Tax Credit that will allow parents to claim up to $1,000 per child per year for fitness and sports-related expenses.
In Kelowna today, Andrew Scheer talking tax credits. The Conservatives also unveiling what it calls the universal tax cut, aiming to save a 2-income family with average salaries $850 a year.
We'll also address the housing crisis. For social housing, we understand the issue is housing first. For young people trying to buy a house, the issue is homes first. And our program goes into housing affordability.
Elizabeth May with the Greens announced her party's platform in Toronto today, a plan to tackle climate change by transitioning Canada to a green economy.
We are paying some of the highest bills in the world when we talk about cell phone or internet services. We're paying some of the highest prices.
Jagmeet Singh with the NDP hoping to connect with voters by pledging to cap internet and cell phone bills, a move he says that could save families at least $250 a year. So Dwight, we're only really several days now into the campaign, so as the weeks go on, those promises will continue to pile up. So we'll continue to bring our viewers though, but we're going to be talking about affordability all week, so we're really hoping to connect with our viewers, our CBC radio listeners as well, and share their stories.
Thank you for that, Shannon. So as you heard there, what matters to you this election? We want to know here at CBC Toronto, what issues do you want us to dig into? Do you have questions about candidates or parties? You can connect with us by email, phone, or social media. Email us at mygtelection@cbc.ca. Call us at 416-205-6000 or connect with CBC Toronto on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We will do our best to tackle the issues that matter to you and the GTA.
We need to have a review of our tax system to ensure that it is fair.
Green Party leader Elizabeth May laid out her party's platform today. We'll bring you details of what she's pledging coming up a little later in the show. There could be a strike in Ontario schools right in the middle of the federal election. That threat coming more into focus today after what CUPE calls record voting numbers. 93% of CUPE's 55,000 members voted in favor of job action. The union represents workers including clerical staff, custodians, and educational assistants. Now, the vote puts them in a legal strike position as of September 30th. That's 2 weeks from today. Ontario's Education Minister Stephen Lecce released a statement in response to the vote saying, quote, "While I am disappointed in CUPE's decision, our government will not be deterred from our mission to reach a deal that ensures that students remain in class." And call it from the forecast, it sounds like the students are going to be wishing they were out of class for the rest of this week and still on summer vacation.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one to sit indoors because it's the last week of summer. All right, we know this. We're going to be falling next week. But boy, oh boy, it's going to feel like summer. Today was a bit of an anomaly, okay? We are going to see the pattern really changing. And as it does and sets up, it's going to be a treat that just keeps on giving. But it's high pressure that we're going to be looking for as that moves in. It's quite strong. And this one is such a large dome of high pressure, it's really going to be blocking other systems that try and come in. They're going to have to kind of go around southern Ontario. Nice to see that. It means multiple days ahead with dry conditions. And the temperature trend is going to be, if not a little above seasonal, a little more than that above seasonal. The daytime temperatures today couldn't say that. At this time of year, we should be at about 21 for the afternoon high. And look at this, 16 degrees is the current temperature, and we climbed. We have to round it up to 18 earlier. So that's all, the best that we've sort of been able to do throughout the day. And then the temperature falling back down this evening towards that 16 degrees once again. A few of those isolated showers, you can still see a sprinkle here and there showing up on the radar. So highly isolated. We'll still see some of that into southwestern Ontario, but the GTA not only drying out, but clearing out through the overnight hours, setting us up for some sunshine tomorrow. Little cloud cover into southwestern Ontario to start the day off, but just elsewhere, a few fair weather clouds, and we're looking about very nice conditions for Tuesday and a warm up from today. So overnight tonight, 11 degrees with that beautiful sunshine tomorrow, 23 for the high, Dwight.
Sounds good. Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
Expect a 1 or 2 cent a liter jump in the price of gas in the next few days, but after then, all bets are off, and it's all because of a drone attack on Saudi Arabia's largest oil processing plant. We'll bring you the very latest after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Thousands of auto workers have walked off the job in the U.S. after United Auto Workers called for a strike against General Motors last night over failed negotiations.
We're striking because we want to be treated fairly. This job is very important to me. I am a third-generation General Motors employee.
The dispute is over a new 4-year contract. Contentious issues include pay increase, job security, and affordable health care. The strike brought more than 50 factories and parts warehouses across 9 U.S. states to a standstill. It's the biggest work stoppage by the union in over a decade and involves 49,000 workers. The president of the union representing GM workers in Canada is warning the strike will cost Canadian jobs. Jerry Diaz says GM is making what he calls obscene profits, and instead of moving production to Mexico, it should be sharing the profits with workers in the U.S. and Canada.
This is about General Motors paying their employees $2 an hour in Mexico and walking away from their obligations in Canada and the United States. It's a disgrace, and workers are standing up.
Diaz says workers have a right to be furious after years of taking cuts to help the company recover its finances. An attack on an oil facility in Saudi Arabia is once again raising tensions between the U.S. and Iran. The facility that was attacked over the weekend is the world's biggest crude oil processing plant. The U.S. saying it holds Iran responsible. Iran is denying involvement. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran have been rising for weeks. The attack on the Saudi facility has cut off about 5% of global crude oil output, causing the biggest surge in oil prices in 3 decades. And here's a look at how the markets reacted. Oil prices spiked today while the TSX was up by more than 68 points. The Dow Jones fell by 142. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson met with European Union leaders today. He wanted to talk about a Brexit deal, but all he managed to do was highlight the serious differences that remain. Protesters even forced him to abruptly back out of a news conference. Cameron McIntosh has more now from London.
Meeting to find common ground on Brexit, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson started his day in Luxembourg, all smiles with the European Commission president.
Well, we're cautious.
Cautious in your business. Thank you. While protesters outside, many British expats were making their views known.
Boris, come here, you lying scumbag!
Hostilities felt throughout the day after meeting Luxembourg Prime Minister Xavier Bettel. Johnson left to a course of boos. The British Prime Minister skipping out on a joint press conference to avoid a hostile crowd. Bettel spoke next to Johnson's empty podium, clearly frustrated.
It's on Mr. Johnson. He holds the future of all UK citizens.
Chastising Johnson and other UK leaders for making petty politics of Brexit, which will have implications across Europe.
You can't hold a future hostage for party political gains.
The critical issue here is still the border with the Republic of Ireland, the backstop, a requirement for the UK to follow the EU's customs standards to avoid setting up checkpoints. Johnson is trying to revise it. EU leaders say the British Prime Minister is offering few workable ideas. Johnson insists there's still time.
We've got to manage this carefully. Yes, there is a good chance of a deal. Yes, I can see the shape of it. Everybody can see roughly what could be done.
Now, one thing Johnson and the EU do agree on, there's no sense in further delays, with both sides saying October 31st is a firm deadline to either get a deal or split up without one, as anxiety builds on both sides of the channel. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, London.
Back here in Canada, the election campaign is on the way, and party leaders represent only their particular party, but the Prime Minister still has the job of leading the country. Today, Justin Trudeau was asked about the details of last week's troubling arrest of a senior intelligence official with the RCMP.
I think people will understand that I can't make any public comments on this, but I can assure you that this is something that the responsible authorities are engaged with at the highest levels, including with our allies.
47-year-old Cameron Ortiz was the Director General of the RCMP's National Intelligence Coordination Center. He had access to classified information from domestic and international allies, including Canada's intelligence sharing partners in the Five Eyes alliance of the US, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Ortiz is facing multiple charges related to trying to disclose secret information to a foreign agency or a terrorist group. RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki says the force has been shaken by the arrest and is working to mitigate any possible threat. Multiple government departments are also conducting damage assessments. A big opium bust by the RCMP here in the GTA. Border Officers intercepted 2 shipments from Iraq recently containing over 40 kilograms of opium. You can see they were hidden in a water heater. The deliveries were meant for 2 addresses in Toronto. Now, earlier this month, the RCMP went to a Mississauga business and found 3 men dismantling one of the shipments. All were arrested and charged with drug offenses.
My plan for a safer Canada specifically addresses illegal firearms.
Far too many communities and families are facing terrible tragedies because of gun violence.
Coming up, we break down where the leaders stand when it comes to gun control and gun crime as GTA communities once again deal with shootings. We are back in just a few minutes. The deadly shooting in Malton on Saturday has become an issue on the federal campaign trail. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has more on what the party leaders are offering to address gun crime.
A hail of semi-automatic gunfire kills a teenage innocent bystander and injures 6 others. Another fatal shooting shuts down a major highway, both over the first weekend of the election campaign. Little wonder it's provoking questions for the party leaders.
Far too many communities and families are facing terrible tragedies because of gun violence.
Responding to gun crime has posed a test for Justin Trudeau.
I agree that we can't simply arrest our way out of this problem.
People need to be safe, and we need to take the right measures to do that. And
Today, the Liberal leader is defending his government's record on the issue.
We move forward on significant measures to bring in gun control, common sense gun control, over the past 4 years.
But if you want more from Trudeau on gun violence, you'll have to wait till later in the campaign.
We're going to have more to say about how we're going to strengthen gun control in this country.
Stricter gun laws are part of the Green Party platform unveiled today.
There are a lot of very legal, law-abiding gun owners, and we're not out to take their guns, but we have to get them out of our cities.
The Greens say they would redirect resources at the Canada Border Services Agency to tackle weapons smuggling, and they promise a buyback program for handguns and assault weapons.
We clearly don't need semi-automatic weapons with multiple reloads of ammunition. Those are designed to kill people, and we should take them out of our society.
My plan for a safer Canada specifically addresses illegal firearms.
Conservative leader Andrew Scheer has already announced his platform on gun crime.
Greater penalties for people who commit these types of offenses, including gang members. And what we do know about some of these shootings that have gone on over the past few months is that they are related to gang activity.
The roots of violence are very complicated, but it requires having the courage to tackle the root cause, and a lot of that means making sure young people have hope for the future.
Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Maxime Bernier, the leader of the People's Party of Canada, has been invited to take part in 2 debates in the lead-up to the federal election.
Canadians will be able to look at all the options, and I can tell you that the People's Party is a real national party with serious reforms that needs to be done for a freer and a more prosperous country.
Bernier will be allowed to take part in the English and French debates that will be broadcast next month. David Johnston, the former Governor General who leads the Debates Commission, wrote today that he is satisfied the People's Party of Canada will field candidates in 90% of ridings and that more than one candidate has a legitimate chance of being elected. Bernier was not initially included among the leaders invited to participate in the debates. Instead, he was asked to provide more information as the commission considered his case. Not everyone is pleased with Bernier's invite.
I think it's wrong to give someone like Mr. Bernier the platform to spread hateful and divisive messages. I think it's absolutely wrong.
There will now be 6 leaders in the debates: Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau, Andrew Scheer, Maxime Bernier, Elizabeth May, and the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet. The Green Party had its big reveal today. Elizabeth May laid out the party's platform. She's calling it Mission Possible. Our senior parliamentary reporter, Julie Van Duzen, has been looking at it, and she's here now to, I guess, give us some of the basics of this platform, Julie.
Well, Dwight, we'll have to see if it's mission possible because it's a very big platform, more than 80 pages long, and it has no price tag. She does say that that will come soon enough when the parliamentary budget officer has finished crunching the numbers, which that office is in the middle of doing right now. But in the meantime, she's thinking big. She wants a big pharmacare plan for all Canadians. She wants free dental care for low-income Canadians. She wants free tuition for university and college students, and she wants to forgive existing student debt over $10,000. Now, that will certainly make a lot of people's ears perk up, but there's more. She wants to eliminate poverty through a guaranteed livable income for the 3.4 million Canadians who live below the poverty line. And she pledges to bring in that promise that Trudeau broke, that Justin Trudeau broke, the electoral reform. She wants to bring that back. There's so much for everybody. She wants to lower the price of cannabis so it can compete on the black market. The list is long, but she says what it shows is that she's not like a one-trick pony all about fighting climate change. Take a listen.
If anything, I guess what this platform tells Canadians, back to your question, is we're certainly not a one-issue party, unless the one issue is Canada.
Okay, that's a great line. Everybody's laughing, but after all, Julie, they are the Green Party, so what about the issue of climate change?
Well, I mean, she is really big on that and has been for decades. So her party, if it had any power, would reduce emissions by 60%. Now, that's very big. It's twice the existing target of 30% by 2030. She would cancel the Trans Mountain Pipeline. There would be no new pipelines, but she would retrain and resettle workers who were affected by this transition to the green economy. Now, a big blow today, I would say, on one front for Elizabeth May, Eric Ferland, who is the former leader of the Green Party in Quebec, on this very same day, he jumped ship and went to the NDP. He said he likes their platform better. So he was standing with leader Jagmeet Singh. Take a listen.
We're recruiting some of the best environmentalists. They're coming to us because they see in our plan the confidence to tackle the crisis, but also they realize that what we're proposing is a complete solution. This is going to provide social justice. We're going to make investments in housing, investments in healthcare.
So, Dwight, the Greens and the NDP are vying for the same kind of voter, and today was another day where that was obvious to all in this campaign.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
We've put together a handy guide on how the main parties compare on a variety of issues, including the carbon tax, climate change, NAFTA, and small business. You can find that and all the latest election news online at cbcnews.ca or on the CBC News app. A new report suggests parents and educators need to reconsider the 3 R's. People from Education says, although reading, writing, and arithmetic are important, that's not where the emphasis should be.
Most of the jobs don't even exist right now that kids are going to be facing. So how do we ensure that we are teaching kids all of the skills they need to be able to keep on adapting? What's important is that you actually understand how you learn and that you're able to think about it. And that you can do that when you're 4 years old or when you're 18 years old. So it's being able
Kidder was on Metro Morning earlier today outlining what she calls are the 5 new basics. These skills include learning to learn, thinking creatively and critically, collaborating, communicating effectively, and finally, developing a sense of self and society. The group says that by focusing on these types of skills versus subjects, kids will be more adaptable to a changing world. Toronto is calling on the province to stop allowing children in Ontario schools to skip vaccines for non-medical reasons.
A lot of people are at risk if we don't have a herd immunity where everybody's vaccinated. Children are at risk. Pregnant women are at risk. Those who are immunocompromised are at risk.
In a report released today, the city's medical officer of health is recommending Ontario's health minister change the Immunization of School Pupils Act, removing exemptions for philosophical and religious reasons. The suggestion comes as vaccination rates plummet around the world. It's led to major outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles. A spokesperson for the province says there are no plans to change their approach. Toronto Fire is partnering up with TCH on an education campaign, hoping to reduce fires due to careless cooking.
Cooking fires are one of the top causes across the city, not just within TCHC portfolio, but just across the city as general. So it's important that we get out in front and address this issue as part of an education campaign.
The numbers are very clear. Within Regent Park area, the highest number of cooking fires within the city as a whole. And then within the area, as I said, 40% more likely to occur within a TCH high-rise building. So we have a duty, and that's why we've joined with Toronto Community Housing.
The groups launched a campaign today encouraging people to pay attention when they cook and mainly to urge people to not leave their cooking unattended. The campaign includes transit shelter posters and ads in the Regent Park neighborhood. Firefighters will also be visiting residents, making sure people know how important it is to have safe cooking practices. All right, Colette, are we talking about the wonderful week ahead?
Yeah, let's do it. I want to talk about this wonderful week ahead. And, you know, one way to kind of see it, our weather doesn't always come from the west. You know, sometimes it slides up from the south of us. But in general, we kind of look at the temperatures, what's happening next door as to what might be coming our way as we go a little further into the week. And all right, we'll look next door into Manitoba. It's 30 degrees in Winnipeg right now. I'm not saying we're necessarily going there, but you're going to be getting close in southwestern Ontario, and we're certainly going to be seeing a warm up. Today, temperatures, almost 5 degrees by the time the temperature kind of dipped this afternoon from where it normally would be at this time of year. Now, Thunder Bay, okay, 15 degrees, a little cooler there with some mist and the winds coming off the lake, but that warmer air will be spreading in your direction. At Fort Frances right now, the temperature's 29 degrees. So we can just see such extremes, really, when we're talking about the month of September and the last week of summer. So the potential is there for us to go into the 30s. That's what the record high is, although that one's been holding since 1941. And there's also the potential for us to drop below freezing. Minus 0.6 is the record low, and that one's been holding a while as well, since 1964. Instead, we're sitting here in those mid-teens still, 16 degrees, the current temperature that we're seeing. A few little really spotty showers that are out there and back towards the London area, towards southwestern Ontario, around Windsor as well. We've been seeing just a few of these little spotty showers, and those clouds really receding around the GTA, and eventually they'll be moving out of southwestern Ontario as well and really breaking into sunshine as that ridge of high pressure will be setting up, and it's just going to move in and stick around for a while. And as it does, it is what is going to bring us really lovely weather, dry weather through much of this week, and the temperatures generally building. Now into Wednesday, a little extra cloud cover to the north of us, some isolated sprinkles possible again, and that day the temperature will be just held back a tiny bit. Otherwise, this week you're going to see is quite delightful. Southwestern Ontario seeing some of those readings in the low to mid 20s. Overnight tonight, we're talking about readings around the GTA, 10 to 11 degrees for us. 23 degrees in general will be the high all around the GTA tomorrow. And then I just want to show you what happens after that as we get a little bit further into this week. This didn't update 23 degrees tomorrow. I did mean that. 22 as we go into Wednesday with that little bit of extra cloud cover. Thursday, 23. Sunshine, and it does look like that ridge is going to be in place long enough that as we get into next weekend, the humidity is actually going to be building Friday into Saturday. So 25 feeling like the upper 20s, and Saturday some sunshine as well, feeling like 30 degrees. We're still talking humidex, Dwight, at the end of this week, this last week of summer.
Wow, can't even believe that. Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
Another rocker has left us. Cars frontman Ric Ocasek has died. How his life is being remembered in the music world, coming up next. Rock and roll fans are mourning the death of Ric Ocasek. The lead singer of The Cars was found dead in his New York City apartment yesterday. Yelena Isaac joins us now. And The Cars topped the music scene in the 70s and 80s. And they had a number of hits. I was around for some of those songs.
Yeah, it's really sad news for a lot of the fans because, I mean, he was found after police were called to the apartment in New York, and they said that they had a call for a male that was unresponsive, and unfortunately we don't know much more than that. But what we do know is just what people are sharing, the stories, the music, and, you know, when I give you a little bit of a look at some of the videos and some of the hits, you know, you think of, oh, it's Magic, and certainly Drive is up there too. These are songs that kind of defy a little bit of genre. Yes, there's rock and roll there, but there's also this really strong pop connection too, certainly with the visuals, very, very 80s. I'd say their heyday was that 10-year period between 78 and 88, let's say, about that. And so just for anybody out there who's of a different generation, Dwight, and they need a little bit more of reminding, I have a little bit of a listen to the Magic right now. So that one's a little more in the upbeat territory, but the one I mentioned earlier, Drive, a lot of people know that hit from them. It's more somber, moody, dark, and it starred in the video the woman who would be his future wife. They met together on that for that video, and there's Paulina Poroskova. She was a big model, if you remember, from the 80s, really, and they were together for almost 3 decades, Dwight. It's kind of unheard of so much in showbiz industry, and 28 years together. They did separate in 2018, but they never officially divorced, and it was kind of really touching today because on Instagram she posted an image of flowers that fans had left at her door, and she just simply said thanks, and it was quite touching. So yeah, this is one that a lot of people are talking about, and also people are unearthing connections they didn't know before. For example, Andy Warhol. I'm going to give you a look at one of the videos he directed, and he was in. Andy Warhol, and this is someone who took photos of Rick and really let him star in one of his TV shows called 15 Minutes. So this is yet another connection. He really did. He wrote for a lot of big name stars, and so he made his mark certainly in the world of pop culture.
And I really remember their videos growing up because their videos were very cool back then and innovative.
Colorful.
People weren't doing a lot of that at the time. What kind of reaction is his death getting in the world of music?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of reaction from different people, of course, in the world of music, but also actors. So we'll just give you a few of them. Weezer, for example, they ended up putting out a statement just to say how much they're devastated by the loss. They called him a friend and a mentor, and they talked about the precious times of hanging out with him, and rest in peace. Another one to share with you, which was just simple. Bryan Adams said, rest in peace, great songwriter and singer for The Cars. And this one from Rainn Wilson. He said, I'm stunned and saddened by the loss. He was a visionary who affected the lives and hearts of everyone who listened to music in the 80s. Godspeed, Rick. Keep moving in stereo. So sort of a touching moment. A lot of people sharing, if it's not outright experiences, just saying, I grew up with this music in many instances. So if you happen to grow up a little bit later, maybe it's time to open up the vault, go back, look at the YouTube videos, and check out The Cars as we remember Rick, as we remember Ocasek died at the age of 75.
Thanks, Yelena.
We'll see you soon, Dwight.
The Maple Leafs paid a visit to kids at the Janeway Children's Hospital in Newfoundland today. Kids got to snap selfies and play games with John Tavares, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and others. The Leafs are holding their training camp in St. John's. It's also where they'll play their first preseason game tomorrow night against the Ottawa Senators.
Make some noise for Mississauga's Bianca Andreescu!
Bianca! She inspired me to believe in myself. She's a young player, so I can maybe someday be like her.
Yes, you could. Thousands of fans turned out to honor Canada's new queen of tennis, Bianca Andreescu. There was a huge rally in her hometown of Mississauga yesterday. She was awarded the key to the city, and a street is being named after her. Toronto Mayor John Tory proclaimed today, September 16th, as Bianca Andreescu Day, and he tweeted the following. To congratulate her on her amazing accomplishments at the U.S. Open and to thank her for being an inspiration to young athletes across the city, I am pleased to proclaim today as Bianca Andreescu Day In the city of Toronto, She the North, She the Champ, Bianca Rising today, Andrescu said she was humbled by the tributes. Well deserved. We'll be right back. A man now living in Toronto who says he was tortured in Chechnya for being gay wants to share his experience to help save others from similar persecution. The 27-year-old recently attended a Winnipeg fundraiser organized by the charity that helped him escape Russia and come to Canada. Austin Grabish has more.
They wanted to destroy me, like I'm nothing.
Ahmed Jabreilov survived torture. The 27-year-old is from Chechnya and survived an anti-gay purge in the Russian Republic.
It was, all about hitting, beating, and they were using feet, plastic pipes, long pipes. And after they started using electroshock.
Jabreilov says soldiers kidnapped him from a hair salon he was working at in 2017 before bringing him to a secret torture facility where other gay men were being held. For 2 weeks, he thought about how he would escape and contemplated suicide.
I was screaming to stop this. And each time I was, screaming, standing up because I couldn't see, and even my hands was handcuffs.
Human Rights Watch says gay purges in Chechnya have continued. Gay men are captured, beaten, and outed to their families. Jabreilov says after 2 weeks in the secret jail, soldiers took him and other men to a hall where their families were waiting.
They were asking to kill us. Yeah, clearly. And take off shame. It's called like that,
Like they asked your parents if they could kill you?
Exactly.
Jabreilov was able to go home, but he knew he was no longer welcome there. He got in touch with Viskan Alsino, a longtime friend living in Moscow. But Alsino soon found himself in danger after being outed. The two were saved by Rainbow Railroad, a charity that helps LGBT people escape violence.
I say, it's Jesus, I can't believe it. It's real, everything is real.
The two friends became lovers and now live together in Toronto. They're starting to share their story at events like this Rainbow Railroad fundraiser in Winnipeg. And together, they are enjoying freedom and the rights that come with living in Canada.
We're just two young men who live in our best lives. And I don't get tired telling this, and I won't, because I really live in this. Can you see that?
And they hope wherever they go next, their story will inspire others. Austin Grabish, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Humidex in the middle of September? Can you believe it? Call us back after the break with one final look at your forecast. We are back in just 2 minutes. Not only going to eat some cookies this morning, we're going to design some cookies too. And I'm going to take these gentlemen on here. We have some representatives from the Toronto Police Service. We've got a representative from Tim Hortons, and we've got me from the CBC. We're going to see who can design the best cookie here. Let's go, gentlemen.
Today is the start of Smile Cookie Week. It goes until September 22nd, so Sunday this week. And $1 for the purchase, you can buy one cookie for $1, and 100% of the proceeds go to local charities. So this year we're supporting 550 charities, 50 more than last year. Last year we raised $7.8 million. We're hoping to blow that number out of the water this year.
It's because of these campaigns that we are able to run 3 programs with the Breakfast Club of Canada. Not only do they help us to provide breakfast for our families, every morning families would drop off kids so that they're in a safe environment. We're very thankful for this campaign this morning because it has a great impact on our community.
Yeah, what we got?
It's got to be this one here.
Oh, okay, all right. right, good job, gentlemen. Good job, good job. What was it? Is it the man bun he's got going? I'm not sure what that is.
It's just an intricate design.
It's the disheveled hair. It's the disheveled hair.
And now the best part. Do it. All for a good cause. And I did bring you one. Since I ate the one I designed, I brought a small for Colin because we're so happy with the forecast. You did such a good job. Now, I volunteered with the Breakfast Club for a lot of years, and I know the great work they do. And the VP told me today that when you send kids to school with a full tummy, the marks go up. It's that simple. So
of course, their mind's not on their stomach, right?
Thank you very much. All right, you can have your cookie after the forecast. Let's see what you're telling us first.
All righty, let's go ahead and show you what's going on here. We do have a clearing trend overnight tonight, so yes, there's still been a few isolated showers out there. Those will be moving out of the way. The clouds will, give me that cookie. The clouds will be moving out of the way too. So 11 degrees the overnight low, and then look at this. Tomorrow afternoon with sunshine, so much nicer than today in terms of the cloud cover, the cool temperatures. So 23 degrees for the high. And Wednesday, we kind of level off a little bit, Dwight. But really what we're seeing, the trend this week is going to be a warming trend with lots of sunshine in the forecast, too, for this last week of summer.
Can I put on the shorts and bring out the open-toe shoes again?
I'm going to just take this
That's
while
yours.
you ask me about your wardrobe.
No?
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I think that you could.
Shorts this week. That's it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. No, I can't talk and eat. Mike Wise had you covered late night. Can I have a bite, actually?
Okay, there we go.